This is not a drill. 33 things we know about the coming food shortages. And this is just a list. I'm just going to read through these just kind of, quickly. And it just really makes you think. I mean, we're not going to investigate each one of these claims. They're all sourced.
I want to know what's wrong with that loaf of bread that nobody wants it.
Well,
mold on it?
I don't think so.
Does it have mold?
I think someone just put that on the shelf for photo purposes.
Oh, is that right?
But anyone that's been to a grocery store lately, the shelves don't really look that bad most of the time.
This is hyperbole then, huh?
Right, it's hyperbole. But if you look behind, there's a thing called fronting, where they pull the stuff forward so the shelves all look full.
Right.
If you go past that front,
there's not much
sometimes
there.
there's nothing behind it. I mean,
you know what I've noticed too, Craig, is that 2 years ago or whatever, they would have one facing, maybe two facings.
Yeah, now
you
got 4 or 5 wide.
Yes.
And
to fill
fewer
space.
selection.
That's
yep.
right.
And some of this is going to be why. So number one, the hard red winter wheat crop in the United States this year, and when they say this year, they're talking for 2022, was the smallest since 1963. Now, also, in addition to that, in 1963, there were only 182 million people living in the U.S., and today our population has grown to 329 million. So, twice the number of people, and the smallest, red winter wheat crop since then.
Wow.
Number two, it's being projected that the rice harvest in California is going to be half of a normal year. Number three, the U.S. tomato harvest is going to come in at 10.5 million tons in 2022. It's over 1 million tons lower than a normal year.
That one hurts a little bit. I love my Italian food.
Yep.
And if I don't have my tomato sauce, I'm going to get hangry.
And think of all the things out there that has tomatoes in it.
Oh, 100%.
Yep. The fourth one, this is going to be the worst U.S. corn harvest in at least a decade. Number five, year-to-date shipments of carrots in the United States are down 45%.
I can do without them.
Yeah, well, there again though, carrots, carrot juices and stuff like that in a lot of products. Year-to-date shipments of sweet corn in the U.S. are down 20%. So not just the worst corn harvest, but sweet corn in particular is down. Year-to-date shipments of sweet potatoes in the U.S. down 13%. Year-to-date shipments of celery down 11%. Total peach production in the U.S. is down 15%.
Wow.
Almost 3/4 of all U.S. farmers say that this year's drought is hurting their harvests. Thanks to the drought, the total number of cattle in Oregon is down 41%. That's huge. The total number of cattle in New Mexico is down 43%. The total number of cattle in Texas is down 50%.
Is this have anything to do, is there a possible conspiracy on this too? With you must eat the bugs.
Well,
Klaus
I don't.
Schwab? Is he trying to?
I don't know, but one way or another, there's something. We're down almost half our red meat production in the country. One beef producer in Oklahoma is now predicting that ground beef could eventually top $50 per pound. Now, this one I did actually do a little bit more reading into. They're putting all these factors in there, including inflation, the feed for your average food for a cow. You got to feed them, before they become your food.
Part of that's affected by the corn up here.
Part of that's affected by all the other stuff. It's doubled. It used to be about $200 per cow in feed cost. It's over $400 now. And that's just that step. By the time you put in also just inflation, supply chain cost increase, fuel increases, it's that's where they're coming up with that $50 per pound.
Smells a little bit like a control move, a strong arm move is coming in here on a lot of this stuff.
I could see something. I could see this would open up and what can't allow any crisis to go to waste.
That's right. That's right.
At least 40% of the United States has been suffering from drought conditions for 101 consecutive weeks. For 2022, this is the worst multi-year mega drought in the United States in 1,200 years.
Jeez.
Europe is currently experiencing the worst drought it's seen in 500 years, and in some parts of Central Europe, river levels have fallen so low that hunger stones are being revealed for the first time in centuries.
I don't know what that means.
Actually, I'm not sure what it is either.
Okay. Somebody tell us in the comments.
Yeah,
below.
if you know what that means. But basically, the water levels are down farther than they've been in centuries. Corn production in the entire EU could be down by as much as 1/5. We're being warned that there'll be crop losses in France up to 35%.
Yeah, we don't care about the French.
Yeah, well, Remember, it's a global economy now, though.
Okay.
It's being projected that crop losses in some parts of the UK could be as high as 50%. There'll be crop losses of up to 50% in some parts of Germany. Farmers in Italy have already lost up to 80% of their harvest. Agricultural production in Somalia will be down 80% this year. In Eastern Africa, okay, we always joke about that, but Somalia has actually become a large food
Has it
producer.
really?
Yeah. In Eastern Africa, the endless droughts already resulted in the deaths of at least 7 million animals. In China, they're facing the worst drought they've experienced in recorded history. India normally accounts for 40% of the global rice trade, but they're warning that the production in that country will be down in 2022 due to considerable rainfall deficits. A third of the entire nation of Pakistan was underwater for recent floods, absolutely devastated the nation, and agricultural areas were hit particularly hard. Basically, crops, the majority of them have been washed away.
No more opium?
Yeah, well, we're talking food here.
Oh, okay.
So it's also been estimated roughly 65% of the country's food basket, particularly crops like rice, cotton, wheat, and onion, have been washed away. Let's see. The price of some fertilizers tripled since 2021.
I was going to bring that up, Craig. I was going to see if something like mentioning the fertilizer. Yep. Isn't Ukraine supply like 2/3 of the fertilizer?
Well, that's what's interesting. Let's finish this list first,
okay,
and then we'll add on to it. One payment company is reporting that the number of Americans using their app, so that whatever this company is, they have an app, to take out short-term loans for groceries. So borrowing money for groceries has risen by 95%.
That's when you're in trouble.
Yes. Demand is U.S. food banks is now it's now even worse than it was during the height of the COVID pandemic. The WHO is telling millions of people in Africa are now potentially facing a very real possibility of starvation. And
again,
the UN Secretary General has publicly stated that he believes there will be multiple famines in 2023. Now add to all of that. That's all 2022 impacts. Now we have the war going on in Ukraine. The fertilizer producer. They also produce between Ukraine and Russia. They produce it's like 70% of the wheat crop globally.
I was going to ask that too.
So, okay, Russia's not likely to sell what they have to anyone else right now, and the Ukraine, well, they're lighting that country up on fire. So, you think your average farmer is going to go out there in Ukraine and get his tractor out there?
That's right. And be a target.
So, you add it all up. This is bad news.
I tell you what, the 90% of the people, or 90% raise in people that are using their credit for that's alarming. Because you know what the next step is, Craig? If you are going into debt for your groceries, adding the ungodly interest rates on top of your monthly payments, that is a quick downward spiral into financial just hell.
Yep.
A quick spiral. And once you're in there and you can't use that credit card anymore because the banks have shut you off, or you're kicked out of your house and you're on the streets begging for money. What is the next step for those people that 90% has raised? What's the next step if they can't buy money anymore on credit or with cash? What do you think they're going to do? What is that percentage? How many of them are going to turn to breaking and entering, stealing, just going into ransacking grocery stores and running out? You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's the correlation between crime, potential crime, and that number right there, I think, is something that is
it's huge.
It's a huge correlation.
I mean, let's face it. It's not like the olden days where people get into credit card debt because they went out and they bought their midlife crisis car. Decided to have a night out in the town.
Right.
They went in and just cranked up the thing, and then the stuff's tight for the next couple months. Or bad medical bills.
They're past that.
We're talking food.
Right.
I mean, you have to eat, and people are going to get desperate. They're going to start, to your point, they're going to get their food one way or another.
They're going to do whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes to get
feed their kids, their family.
To feed them and their family and their
when
kids.
you get hungry enough. And I would too, but the moral of the story is don't get here.
Yep.
Don't get here. Don't get to the 90. Don't be one of those 90% hikes using your credit card for it. That's
Yeah, there are programs out there, and there's evidence here people have been using them. Use those programs as much as we can. Now, here comes the danger with all of this, too. I mean, you have that. This is going to be the crisis that you kind of alluded to, the government being able to step in and,
you want to eat?
You want to eat? Yeah,
Well,
we'll take care of that.
You need to be in this lane,
Yep.
voting this way. And that's actually a key to leftist power is once you get 51% on the dole, that they're relying on that
Yep.
government to keep them alive, the country's toast.
Yes.
Country's toast. So interesting list. When it started out, all I could think about, I don't know if you got that picture, but the gluten, the wheat, the hard wheat, is going to hurt. Actually, it's going to help the gluten-free people because they won't have wheat to make bread.
I don't have
but
that one listed.
Do you have that picture on there? I
Yeah.
saw this thing on Babylon Bee. It said that lefties are all excited about becoming communists, but they're worried that there won't be a gluten-free bread line. And I thought that was pretty fun.
I hope you've enjoyed this clip from the Craig's Gun Channel Random Shots program. The program airs Thursdays at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. On Random Shots, we discuss content ranging anything from preparedness, survival, politics, firearms, basically anything that's 2A related, with sometimes some rabbit trails and things that aren't related at all. If you enjoy this type of programming, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you're notified when we release new content. And if you like it, hit the like button and share us if you would as well. It helps the algorithm and helps the channel grow and helps get our message out. So I guess until next time, stay safe.